discuss how the investigation. Oh, that's not.
Audience.
So, my name's Chris. So, the affirmative team was just talking about how all this racial profiling is occurring, but the government is actually implementing a system where it's actually it's going to be genetic profiling, where everyone is basically put into the database, and this will completely eliminate racial profiling. So it says from Mike Goldman's and Nasha Shamapraza, it says, some forensic experts have suggested that the U.S. government should expand the National CODIS database to include DNA from every U.S. citizen. This would eliminate the racial imbalances within the database. It would make it much easier to solve crimes in cold cases for which the perpetrator's DNA is not yet in CODIS. It would also simplify the identification of bodies after a natural disaster, accident, or attack on the civilian population. Also, CODIS is safe and there's no risk of hacking. Scott Berkowitz from June 3rd, 2013 says that the fears that CODIS could be hacked and DNA profiles used for nefarious purposes also don't stand up to the evidence. First, accessing the database for the non-law enforcement purposes is a serious crime and one that has never happened. Second, even if the database were accessed improperly, there's nothing in it other than the 13 DNA markers. The names of the people to whom the DNA profiles belongs aren't stored in the database. Rather, once there's a hit, law enforcement contacts the jurisdiction that uploaded the profile to find out to whom it belongs. It's an extra level of protection that makes it pointless to even break in because nothing's going to occur since it's all safe. Okay, so as society progresses, so does technology. If we follow the affirmative plan, more bad than good will occur. If domestic surveillance is curtailed, then the United States will be more vulnerable to terrorist attacks and risk innocent civilian lives, which is very unnecessary because our technology already prevents such occurrences. Domestic surveillance is crucial for our society. Nick Simone, a writer at the Air Force Defense Press Services, stated that the director of the National Security Agency told Congress today that more than 50 terrorist plots worldwide had been prevented since 9/11 attacks. Through the classified surveillance programs that the government uses to gather phone and internet data, programs, he said, are legal and do not compromise the privacy and civil liberties of Americans. If we go along with the affirmative plan, we're risking innocent civilian lives. Bill Hart, an analyst at the Morrison Institute, said last year nearly 2/3 of the respondents to the Gallup poll said crime was on the rise. In fact, all evidence points to the opposite conclusion. Violent crime rates across the nation sank by more than half in the 1990s and remain near 20 years of law. So even though the affirmative team means well, they're still jeopardizing our safety. Arguably, the NSA is infringing on USA privacy, but this creates a social contract between the government and its citizens. For those of you who don't know, a social contract is a voluntary agreement in which mutual benefit occurs between and for individuals, groups, government, or a community as a whole. So, as U.S. citizens, there's a mutual agreement between the government and the people. Give up some freedom for some protection. Also, to restate what my partner said, the NSA does not violate the Constitution. They examine only the addresses and senders on the emails and telephone numbers called. So, overall, the government use of domestic surveillance is legal and it protects the lives of Americans and citizens. Alright, I'm now open for process.
Do you
understand what the SPOT program is?
Yes.
So you understand that the program is used in airports to pick out people who they assume are terrorists, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you also understand that they're in no way linked to the NSA and also don't work with stopping any crime outside of picking potential terrorists in airports.
And but they're still using domestic surveillance.
Of course, we are curtailing domestic surveillance. It is domestic surveillance, and my point is that it's no way connected to the other forms of domestic surveillance that you're referring to, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, do you know how many terrorist attacks have been stopped by using SPOT?
No.
Well, are you aware that it's been almost, not even quite 1% out of about 30,000 terrorist attacks? Are you aware of this?
No, it's not.
Okay, so how will we be risking lives by ending this program? Okay, so if you don't know, what about this genetic profiling you've been talking about? You said that the government would be enacting a program for genetic profiling to reduce racial profiling, but do you know that this program won't be enacted on this SPOT program?
No, I do not know that.
So,
But the government is
right,
trying
but
to-
that doesn't affect the SPOT program which we're eradicating, correct?
But it would still apply to it.
It wouldn't, correct?
No.
Well, so if that isn't in order for the SPOT program, then how will racial profiling within the SPOT program be diminished?
Could you reword your question?
So how will they get rid of the racial profiling that is used to drive the SPOT program using your genetic profiling program that the government would be enacting?
Because they're collecting everyone's DNA, so it's going to be in a genetic database.
But would the SPOT program be using this genetic database?
I mean, if the government is implementing it, why wouldn't they?
So is the government implementing it on this program as well?
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. If there's all
So
this
do you
stuff-
know for sure if it is?
No.
Thank you.